Have you ever made a promise so deep that it stayed in your heart for years? A promise spoken in a moment of hope, when the future seemed uncertain, yet somehow your soul believed it would come true one day. What if, after 15 long years of silence, struggles, and distance, you returned to find that someone had never forgotten those words? What if the person you left behind had quietly carried that promise in their heart every single day? Before we begin, welcome to Echoes of Hope. If you enjoy heartfelt stories about kindness, love, and second chances, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps us bring more inspiring stories to life. I was 19 when I first met Emily. Back then, life was simple, though it never felt easy. I worked odd jobs around our small town, trying to help my mother pay bills after my father passed away. Most days felt like a struggle. Every morning, I stopped by a little bakery on Main Street. It smelled of fresh bread, cinnamon, and hope. That bakery belonged to Emily's father. Emily worked behind the counter. She always greeted everyone with the same warm smile, whether they were rich or poor, young or old. One rainy morning, I walked into the bakery with only enough money to buy a single roll. I remember feeling embarrassed as I counted my coins. Emily noticed. Without saying a word, she slipped an extra pastry into my bag. I didn't order this, I told her. She smiled. I know. I tried to hand it back. She gently pushed it toward me. Everyone deserves something sweet once in a while. It wasn't the pastry that stayed with me. It was her kindness. Over the next few years, we became close friends. Whenever someone in town needed help, Emily was there. She delivered bread to elderly neighbors who couldn't leave their homes. She stayed late to help struggling families. She remembered birthdays, anniversaries, and even the names of people's pets. She treated every person as if they mattered. And because of that, everyone loved her, including me. One summer evening, we sat on a bench near the river, watching the sunset paint the sky orange and gold. I knew I loved her, but I also knew I couldn't offer her much. I had dreams of building a better future, and those dreams required leaving town. I got accepted into a training program in Chicago, I told her. She smiled, though I could see sadness in her eyes. That's wonderful. I'm leaving next month. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then I looked at her and said the words that would follow me for years. One day I'll come back and marry you. Emily laughed softly. Not because she thought it was funny, because she was trying not to cry. I'll hold you to that, she whispered. The next month, I left. At first, we wrote letters constantly. Then life became busy. My training turned into a career. The career turned into long hours and endless responsibilities. The letters became fewer. Eventually, they stopped altogether. Years passed. Then more years. I often thought about Emily. Sometimes I wondered whether she had married someone else. Honestly, I hoped she had found happiness, because I wasn't sure I deserved to be part of her life anymore. Meanwhile, my career flourished. I built a successful business. People called me accomplished, successful, respected. But success has a strange way of revealing what truly matters. The more I achieved, the more I realized something was missing. One evening, after closing a major business deal, I sat alone in a luxury hotel room. The city lights sparkled outside the window. Yet I felt empty. For the first time in years, I thought about that small bakery. I thought about fresh bread. I thought about kindness. I thought about Emily. The next morning, I made a decision. I was going home. 15 years had passed since I left. As I drove into town, everything looked both familiar and different. Some buildings were new. Others were gone. But when I reached Main Street, my heart stopped.
Welcome back to the show.
The bakery was still there. The same wooden sign hung above the door. The same flower boxes decorated the windows. I stood outside for several minutes, gathering courage. Then I stepped inside. The smell was exactly as I remembered. For a moment, I felt 19 again. Behind the counter stood a woman arranging loaves of bread. She looked up. Time seemed to freeze. It was Emily. Older, wiser, more beautiful than I remembered. Our eyes met. Neither of us spoke. Finally, she smiled. The same smile. The same kindness. The same warmth. Hello, stranger, she said. My throat tightened. Hi, Emily. For a few moments, we simply stared at each other. 15 years disappeared in an instant. Then I asked the question I had feared for years. Are you married? She shook her head. No. I couldn't believe it. Why not? Emily looked at me for a moment. Then she smiled gently. I've waited 15 years for you. The words hit me harder than anything I had ever experienced. I felt tears fill my eyes. Emily, I never expected. She interrupted softly. I know. I looked around the bakery. It was thriving. Customers came and went. Everyone seemed to know her. Everyone greeted her with affection. Then I learned something remarkable. Over the years, Emily had transformed the bakery into more than a business. Every week, she donated bread to homeless shelters. She organized food drives. She quietly paid grocery bills for struggling families. She funded school lunches for children in need. Most people never knew where the help came from. She never wanted recognition. She simply believed kindness was something you gave away freely. Listening to her story, I realized something. While I had spent 15 years building wealth, Emily had spent 15 years building hope. And somehow, her accomplishments felt far greater than mine. Over the following months, we spent countless hours together. We talked about everything we had missed. The mistakes, the victories, the heartbreaks, the lessons. One evening, we returned to the same river bench where we had sat years earlier. The sunset painted the sky once again, just like before. I took her hand. This time, I wasn't a young man chasing dreams. I was a man who finally understood what mattered most. 15 years ago, I made a promise. Emily smiled. You did. I should have come back sooner. She squeezed my hand. But you came back. I looked into her eyes. Emily, will you marry me? Tears filled her eyes as she laughed. The same beautiful laugh I remembered. Yes, she whispered. The following spring, the entire town gathered for our wedding. People came from everywhere. Families Emily had helped. Children she had fed. Elderly neighbors she had supported. People whose lives had been touched by her kindness. As I stood beside her, I realized the greatest gift she had given wasn't her patience. It wasn't even her love. It was her example. She had shown an entire community that kindness matters. That small acts can change lives. That helping others creates ripples far beyond what we can see. And perhaps that's the most powerful lesson of all. Kindness is never wasted. Every encouraging word, every helping hand, every act of compassion plants a seed. Sometimes those seeds bloom immediately. Sometimes they take years. But they always matter. Emily waited 15 years for a promise to come true. Yet during those years, she never stopped giving hope to others. And in the end, her kindness changed more lives than she could ever imagine. So wherever you are today, remember this: choose kindness whenever you can. A simple act of compassion may become the reason someone keeps believing in a better tomorrow. And just like Emily, you may discover that the love and goodness you give to the world has a way of finding its way back to you when you least expect it.